Hello, it's ED here. Um, this is gonna be very different from my other two videos that I've done, where those were all scripted reviews going over like the whole game, very organized. This isn't, because I just finished Omori and I just really want to say something about it now. And I'll be honest, there's already tons of videos out there that have covered and talked about this game, given it a good introduction. If you want to know more, if you want to actually be introduced to this game, I recommend go watching more of that. I recommend Naturad's video. He doesn't go into spoilers until like the first 12 minutes of the video maybe, but you get a good introduction. I'll just plug that, I guess. But for me though, I just really want to talk about like this game personally to me. Just how I felt playing this game and the emotional response I got from it. And yeah, I feel like just speaking like straight from the heart is a good way to tackle talking about this game. I know that may sound cheesy, but I don't really care. I just want to talk about it in this way and see if it works. Now, if you couldn't already tell by the thumbnail of this video, if you have not played Omori, if you're not seeing a Let's Play the game, if you don't know anything about it, stop watching this video just immediately. I am going to be going full in depth to every like plot twist, every impactful moments of this game. Well, not every, but like the ones that are worthwhile talking about, and I really don't want to rob that experience of anybody. So yeah, I recommend just leaving, because I'm just gonna give my full thoughts and like perspectives, how I felt going through it. That's the purpose of this video. I may repeat myself, but I am fine with that. I think it is time we start talking about the game now. So yeah, if you haven't played it yet, get out of here. I think the biggest points I can make about this game is that it is the most emotionally invested any piece of fiction has ever left me. I know it may sound hyperbolic to say that, like 2 days after I finished the game, but I stand by this. I consider myself a bit of like an emotional wall with a lot of pieces of fiction. Like, it takes a lot to like make me want to cry, I guess, because like I played through all of Danganronpa and like I felt perfectly fine playing that. Was that my perspective during that time? Maybe it was, but very little could actually get me to feel like such strong emotions like want to cry. But this game, it went with flying colors. It broke that barrier like a wrecking ball to a brick wall, and it did that so well, and I am just so impressed by this game. To talk about like why I think it got to that, well, I think the most important aspect is that the dialogue of this game is phenomenal. It is one of the best things about it. It is very natural. The characters talking to each other does not feel overly theatric or like it's trying to set up a show. No, it is when these characters are interacting, it feels like actual kids talking to each other, trying to figure things out. And of course, this mainly applies to the real world, but even inside the dream world, you can see the interactions of these characters, just how tightly of friends they really feel. Like I feel everyone's playing this, who's played this game, probably connects to one of these kids in some ways. Whether or not you were that kind of kid, you were like a kid like Kel, just kind of carefree, trying to your best to be happy, may not have always read the room well, or you may have seen a kid like one of the other characters. Maybe you've seen someone at school in your childhood that reminded you of Aubrey, or maybe like Hiro, if they were that cool kid that you knew. Either way, there's a character in this game that I feel like you probably are going to relate to, either reflect on, or just grow an attachment to in some sort of way. I could just, if you gave me a tier list, I'd put every single like the main cast of this game in like S tier, just as they said, like all 6 main characters, even though one of them we barely actually get to see as an actual character, but I still would have no regrets. I love this cast so much. This is like one of my favorite casts I've ever seen in the game. Just I got so emotionally attached to them just through their interactions. Yeah, the writing, it is top notch. I don't really have any complaints in that area for this game at all. I love it so much. One other aspect that I think was really well done was the horror of this game. It's not really like a bunch of major jump scares in your face, but no, it's a lot of like creepy stuff. Something feels unsettling. Like nothing is fine. And I think that was just a really effective way of getting across the the mental state of our character Sunny, because all this like weird stuff, the something, that creepy spider thing, those instances of like something just appearing behind you, or just when it catches you off guard, it's not just for the sake of like, oh, you got scared. No, it's all for the purpose of further emphasizing how something is troubling Sunny, because what we experience, I feel, is kind of only like a fraction of how Sunny actually feels. Like, you know, the horror that I felt, like the little bits of like goosebumps I got, the bit of intensity, nervousness, that's only like a small piece of the torment that Sunny feels, and I think that's just really interesting to think about, and I really like how that was handled in the game. I think the parts that probably made me the most nervous was when the game used like realistic imagery, and I'm talking about like the hands specifically, because it's such an out of place thing. It feels like it does not belong there, but it is, and that's just uncomfortable. Like when the hand reaches out to you at the beginning of the stairs, like you already got all these black like tentacle things or whatever coming at you, or like maybe I think those are also hands, and then you got this giant realistic hand just suddenly coming out of nowhere, and then how those hands are used later on during black space, or like around that area when they're just so many arms. It's unnatural. Why is it there? I don't know, and that's unsettling to think about. And since I also mentioned it previously, I love how the entity, the monster, is called something, because it's a really effective phrase by saying that what happened to Sunny, something happened, and just that kind of ambiguous naming is just really effective to me. If you were to ask me what my favorite parts of the game were, it would definitely be the outside, like the real world segments, when you open that door and then see the real life version of Kel. And then basically from then on, you get to see how the world actually is now, not the dream world, this perfect envisionment of how Sunny sees the people around him, or how he wants the world to be. No, it's how things actually are right now. And oof, it's really heavy stuff, honestly, because first off, one of the things you learn very quickly on is like near the end of the first real world segment is that Marie is dead, and this is part of the core as to why things are so much worse now. It's really cool how like each character is different compared to how they used to be, or like in the dream world they are, because Kel, he's still true to himself, but you can tell he's matured more. Like he's older, and it feels like it. Aubrey is more like a completely different person, and because you can tell externally she's one of the most affected by Marie's death. Hero, he's the one who stayed true most to himself, because he's the oldest, like he's the most headstrong. He was not okay after that event, but he managed to find his way in some aspects. And then Basil, you can tell just completely like nervous, on the edge of breaking down. It's really sad to see that specifically, but also you can tell this also caused why Sunny is like so emotionless. Like you see the photos, you can tell like not the most expressive, but even now it's even worse. It's like this dude can you don't actually see this dude smile in the actual world. In the dream world, it's less of like an actual story, but more just goofy events, you know, the more wacky video game RPG adventure. But you can tell that is mainly supposed to supplement the real story of this game, which is in the real world about these friends just trying to come back together, but terror that has happened, just trying to put some sort of band-aid on that, at least heal it in some sort of way after like 4 years since it happened. And it's just really relatable, emotional to see these friends talk to each other in the real world. Just you can tell like some characters like repeat things, you know. Kel will always, I swear he's like 3 times like says the similar enough phrase, "we all used to be friends," but you can tell like that's something someone would actually say in real life. They would probably repeat that. It's not lazy for Kel to keep saying that. No, it feels like something someone would actually keep saying even if it's repetitive, just to drive that point home. And it's cool seeing how, speaking of like Kel, it's cool seeing how that bickering between Kel and Aubrey kind of evolved into something worse. It's no longer the childish elementary school level arguments. It's like something like actually deep that's been cut between those two. And you can see how Hiro really meant so much to both of them. Like, Hiro was like the one that actually helped those two get together, and without that, there's just this hatred that you can sense between the two now. And it isn't until Hiro comes in the third day and actually makes them get together. You can, in the dream world, you see how Hiro like made them get stop fighting and just become friends again. Over like the most childish things, but here in the third day you actually get to see that applied in real life, and how that is done. It is so good. I love that so much. I love a lot of things about this game, but I just really can't understand. The real world is where these characters shine the most, and I just can't get enough of it. It's probably why I don't have as much interest in the Hikikomori routes, because it's there's no real world sections. It's all the dream stuff, which I mainly see as like, complementing. The balance of the dream world and the real world. It was my main motivator to get through the dream world. I wanted to go through it, experience this adventure, and then get back to the real world, because that was what interested me the most, and that was my biggest hook throughout the whole game. Like damn, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I did get emotional, mainly like in the real world segments. Like, the things that one of the parts that probably made me one of the most emotional was when you get the photo book back and you get to look at the real photos of like what these characters were like in real life. There's actual context and meaning. It honestly, just looking through that photo album, the real memories these characters have, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, dude, because there's a sentiment to that. Like, it brings out that like childhood like feeling that life was simpler if you were around the people that you just enjoyed. You had fun. It's a faraway memory now, but those memories are still there. They're still worth cherishing. And dude, I think I remember like shedding a tear while looking at those photos, because like I hope I'm not exaggerating when I say like looking through all those photos in that photo album, even when you get more of them later on, it's one of the most beautiful things I've looked at in a video game. Just, I know they're simple drawings, but it means the world to just look at that thing, man. Just so much, there's so much significance to it, and God, dude, yeah, it brought out something in me, I swear. Then, of course, there's probably the thing I want to talk about most about this game, and it's the final hours of it. The finale, the ending, all of that, and it's the most heavy section of the game. The true route, doing that, where you're learning the truth, seeing that final confrontation, that ambiguous ending. It's all. Oh, that was one heck of a ride that I went through, and I think it's time I talk about it now. First off, I will say the section of black space is terrifying in a way. Just seeing all these distorted thoughts, just nothing makes sense. It's all weird. Basil keeps dying in these horrifying ways. It's a lot of unpleasant things. It's pure chaos, and it's just really fascinating to go through, but also kind of scary in a way, because, man, every time I got the key, I was like, I'm getting out of here. I do not want to explore this whole place. I'm not gonna do it. You can't make me. Dude, that was crazy. But then, like, afterwards, you have one final night of sleeping, and it's like, that's when the truth gets revealed. The night that, or the day that Mary died, and geez, the way it's presented as well is brilliant. It is so effective, using photos as the basis of this is how everything happened, and everything is unscattered too. So as you're going through this segment, your brain is slowly processing what's happening. When you just collect those images, they're forcing you to put them together. You realize, oh no, there's a story here. There's a sequence of events that are going down. And as you just piece it together, it's just the questions start wondering, was this just a suicide? Is there more to this? And as you collect the photos, you see the pictures, you see the ones with the stairs, you see the pictures with Mary and Sunny. When you start collecting the photos that start really setting in what happened, each time you collect them, the piano just juts in, a large, loud sound, and you see the truth that the way Mary died wasn't a suicide. It was a terrible accident, and Sunny pushed her down the stairs. And that's how she died. It was a argument just of having to deal with like the violin, the recital. You could tell Sunny was trying to run down the stairs. Mary stopped her, and he pushed her, and that's a mistake you'll never be able to make up because she died, snapped her neck, I assume so, and then put her on the bed. She's not waking up. She's dead. Oh my god, this 12-year-old just killed the child, and this other 12-year-old was forced to see it happen. Oh my god, what the fuck is happening? It's so insane how by the end of this you're forced to put all the photos like back into place. Like beforehand, when you first did in the dream world, it's like, oh, I guess it's like this little game. It's kind of pointless. Like there's no point to it right now. But then in the real world, it has this sentimental, very happy, joyful purpose of just here's living our memories, the good times. But now it has the complete opposite effect. We are piecing together the worst points of Sunny's life and Basil's life, the thing that would create this monster. It was after that just staging as a suicide, because what do we do? Someone the one who connected all of them is gone. How what do you do after that? So, you know, seeing them realizing that they staged it is it's horrifying, because it's them. They want to. Sunny does not want to face what he has done, because he killed his sister. It's horrifying. No 12-year-old should go through that. But then it gets even worse when they stage it as a suicide, the hang of the noose, and then you see the eye sticks out from Mary, and it's becomes what something is, that symbol. It's Mary looking back, the guilt. That symbol of the eye and like that shape, that is her eyes staring back within her hair. It's the guilt staring back, and that's what something is. It is the culmination of guilt over the worst thing you probably could have done ever, or one of the a horrible thing that cannot be undone ever, and it is sticking with you for the rest of your life, and it is just boiled up inside both of these characters. And god, it is so terrifying to see unfold, but not the I'm scared, I'm gonna scream, more so just the I am unsettled, this is insane, I am invested, but this also hurts to see, to learn the truth, what has actually been balling up. I know I've said balled up twice, I don't care, but just when you know everything, once it sets into place, it is heartbreaking to see that's how things turned out. But then after this terrifying nightmare, you get to see how this trauma how it is actually going to be applied to the real world, because when you follow the true route, you go into Basil's room, you realize this is why Basil has been a wreck. Basil has been living outside life with the knowledge of he's an accomplice to this murder, essentially, that has hurt so many people. How do you forgive yourself for that? And just the battle that ensues, the dark taking over both of them as they just hurt each other. Because when you're that fight with Basil, it hurts. It's not a hard fight, but it hurts because it's okay. Why my brain black out right there? But it's when you take away all the imagery of the dark imagery, when you strip it of that, you realize that this encounter is literally just two kids hurting each other, two kids with the guilt that neither of them can bear. hurting each other, lashing out, not knowing what to do but just hurt each other over the guilt of this act that they know it's literally killing them. It's still also heartbreaking thinking about aspects like what were Marie's thoughts right during her death, because we never know that. It's such a sudden thing that happens, and I don't know why, but like an accidental death like that can just be so much more emotionally impactful to me than like a character dying in battle, or a character sacrificing themselves, where they get to actually have some last words of just like, they get to say something before they go out, something like, I've accepted that I died, or something like that. I get to say something. But for Marie's death, there is nothing. It happens, and before you know it, she's gone, and it feels like something that can actually happen in real life, and that's honestly kind of terrifying to think about when you really let that fact slip into your brain, which is why it is also so affected me so much when I played the game, because it feels something that's real. It could happen. You may argue that like the whole staging of suicide may be something that less realistic, but so much of it still feels real. Like it's that sense of disbelief is shattered for me still, even though it's all still a piece of fiction regardless, and that's why it messes me up so much compared to anything else. And this game is still like a 2D spray-based RPG Maker game. That's the crazy thing. There's no realistic graphics to make it feel real. There's no voice acting to make it feel real. It is just the raw writing, the imagery. It's using the most with what you have to tell a story. It makes it feel more real than anything based around like actual graphics and production can actually do. It's incredible. And then like after this battle with Basil, you get to see all the actual memories of how these characters were before then, not the dream stuff and the actual happy place these characters were in before everything became terrible. Besides just, you see the photos, but then you actually get to remember what the good times were like and how worthwhile they were and how much they still mean to all of these characters, and why they still matter even with everything that's happened, why they're still worth thinking about. And of course, I mean, you get sent to the hospital while this is happening, but it's awesome. It's one final motivator as to why you gotta pull through. You gotta get through this. You have to. You can't. There's still some sort of hope left, even if it feels like there isn't. You just gotta do something about it. Then of course this all leads to the final battle of the game. The fights with Omori, your other self, the Dream Mode version. And it is one of the most powerful final bosses I've ever played in a video game. Because it is just pure raw emotion. It is a battle with yourself. It's very symbolic, but also it puts to use all of the emotion, like the skills that you learn, like calming down and then cherishing. And the dialogue that happens here is really hits, because all of the things that Omori tells you, they're very like real things someone would tell themselves to put them down, and just that guilt, just like you don't deserve anything for what you've done. It just brings out the worst thoughts that can come out of a person are just right there. And just the violin piece that plays during the track called Omori, it's so tragic. It's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking battle to watch unfold, because it is the biggest mental test the character Sunny will ever have, and you just gotta pull through, just keep fighting. Omori just will not succumb, which just keeps providing that mechanic in the game getting actually applied to the fights. It's so insane. I was just in awe the whole time during that fight, and I was just in the moment. The phrases that stick most are stuff like them saying like, you loved Marie and you killed her. How it then goes on to other characters. This character Kel loved her and you killed her. Hero loved you and you killed her. It's all true things in a way, but it's not. It hurts, but you can't just let yourself die. There's still something you can do. There's a chance at some things being better. What if you could just say it? I guess. You could tell I am just... Emotions are certainly swelling up. It's because this game was really good at that. It's the whole point of it. The emotions definitely like swell up most during the final duet that you actually get to see once you get that forced game over. You continue, you play the violin, and you get to see like Sunny and Marie's life, along with how all of them together were as friends. This final animation, the music accompanying it makes it absolutely beautiful. It is a spectacle just to watch, to listen to see all the emotions that track conveys, the sadness, the happiness. It is like, if you want a track that like both accompanies happiness and sadness at the same time, to leave this beautiful combination, it is that duet piece, along with the visuals that accompany it. Just everything about it is beautiful. Every time I go back to rewatch that, there's something swells up inside me, and it kicks so much ass, man. Dude, like the way this game uses music, specifically that piano piece, is incredible, because when you first hear it in the title screen, it is this nice little piano piece, but then later you realize that, like the second day, you realize what this track actually meant. It was the track that Marie kept playing. It's the song. You get to hear it you get to hear a version of it, but then by the final duet, you actually get to see this song in its full, along with the violin, because also beforehand you get to hear Sunny playing it by himself in the set alone with only the violin. But then for the duet, it's both of them. It's that track. This track keeps getting reused with different meanings each time, and it gets elevated and elevated every single time until it just peaks with that music track, with that final duet. And I love it when OSTs are able to do that. When video game OSTs can just be that emotional elevation for pieces of fiction in general, actually. And it's also incredible how it's also the final. It becomes the new title screen theme, this beautiful piano version, nothing odd about it. It is just blissful, and it's, yeah. Then, of course, we have the ending of this game, and God, it begins with, Sunny just waking up and seeing Sunny just cry, just that close up, just letting it all out. It's been held up like, it's okay to cry. This is terrible. It's okay. Let it out, kid. Just let it out. Those are the thoughts that came into my brain as I saw that happen. Just the tears, a strong emotion besides fear is finally there. It's letting it out. It's like, it's okay to cry, dude. It's okay to cry. Jesus, I'm not trying to make myself cry. Come on, stupid Edie. I know some may not like ambiguous endings or like leave it up to your interpretation, but I really like how this game ends with the final shot of just Sunny finally speaking after like probably 4 years of just saying, I have to tell you something. And it's also really clever that something is the final word of the game when, something is also the name of the demon, I guess. that was the guilt. That's what it was called, so it's really cool just letting you think about that, like how they would have reacted, because it can honestly go either way with how easily they would have forgiven Sunny and Basil, if they would forgive him at all. But I personally like to believe that they did. It probably took a while to do that. Like, it took a while to let that set in. But what's most important is that this game still ends by resolving its conflict, that guilt, that demon, that something is gone now. We've gotten rid of it, like how, which can be seen with how that bonus ending of Basil and Sunny's, the black thing, the demon things, they're going away now. Like the eyeball, it's vanishing, it's disappearing because they've confessed, they told their friends, they've reached out to the truth of what's. I said reach out to the truth of cringy. It's the Persona 4 song, but it's. The conflict is resolved, and I think that's what's most important. And what happens after that is up to you to interpret, you to make out. Maybe you can think about how during that bonus ending only Sunny is there. Maybe the rest went outside because they need some time to think about it, and just maybe they in your head they've left out of anger. They left just to leave Sunny and Basil, or they left to leave Sunny and Basil alone just for themselves to talk to each other. And yeah, I think that kind of ending is really beautiful in a way, and it just leaves so much thought left to the player, and there's certainly a lot to discuss as a result. Omori in general, though, is such a beautiful game. I think that's the key word to describe it as. It has made me feel some of the most happiness a game has made me felt. It is the most heartbroken a game has made me felt, and it's also like some of the most scared I guess you could say a game has made me feel. Like those three emotions are really strong with this game. You will feel things when playing this game, and I think that's the key thing about why I love this game. So it made me feel it's such it's not the most complex story out there, not really, but it hit me hard, and that's just it's so cool that it was able to do that. It's my favorite game that released in 2020, and it was probably gonna be one of my favorite games of all time. I can very much see it becoming that way, and I'm just very happy that I was able to put all these thoughts somewhere. So if you stuck by listening to me talk about this game, then just thank you. So I guess it's the outro now. So if you have stuck by this whole video, just thank you. And also, if you want to put your own thoughts about this game, leave a comment or something. I really am curious to hear any discussion about what others have thought about this game and their reactions or their personal interpretations. I think that's a lot of fun and one of the best aspects about this game. So yeah, see ya, I guess.